Welcome to the Mom Founders Table. Pull up a chair and join me every week as I become your thought partner and help you lead to create change. I'm your host, Kelsey Kenry, entrepreneur, millionaire mom of three, and strategic business coach for established mom entrepreneurs. Every week, you will get tactical guidance to apply to your business, leadership, and life that will help you further your true success while also being invited into a new way of thinking and being that creates true freedom. I'm here to call you out and call you up, so take a seat and let's begin. Welcome back to another episode of the Mom Founders Table. And man, we kicked off with a great start here with a bunch of tech issues and all things on my end failing, but we made it happen. We persevered as we do. So thank you, Kim, for being here, for bearing with all of the shit show that was my microphone and headphones and everything not working. But tell everybody who is listening a little bit about you, where you're from, and about your business.
Yes. Yeah, no worries. My name's Kim Richards, and I'm the founder of Caring for Mama. And I'm based in San Diego, so lovely weather and very happy to be here, born and raised. When I started my business 2 years ago, it's my second business I've owned, but it's the first product-based business. So before I was in PR and communications, and after having my two daughters, who are now almost 4 and my older daughter's 7, I just thought, this can't be all there is. Like, we have to do more. We have to do better for moms. And I really struggled postpartum, with depression, anxiety, any combination of those. And I just felt like, what can I do? I just felt really fired up, as many moms do, right? Going through the experience. And then one day I decided to gift a good friend of mine, a neighbor of mine, when she was having her second child, and gifted her a bunch of things that I really loved that were really nourishing for me. And that night she texted me saying, "Thank you so much, Kim. I feel so seen and cared for." And I tell that story every single time because it was that moment, that aha, the full body chills of like, I didn't realize the depths of care and like that, how deep it went for her, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Mhm.
That something that felt like a natural, what I wanted to do for her, it felt natural. For her, it was literally the only gift that was really just for her. We're often getting things for the baby and the house and meals, which are
True.
critical. And the reality is we have literally transformed. Like, we have birthed a new version of ourselves as well as our children. And there's just no real recognition for that. And so these care boxes that I started building as part of Caring for Mama was really just that like formalized into a business, really. And so I source products from women-owned businesses, and I put them all in these different boxes and ship them all over the country, and women all over, opening these boxes. It says Caring for Mama, and the first card says, "You're doing a great job." And everything in there is for our well-being. So it's just to feel good in whatever way we need to feel good in that moment. So it's really the message it sends more than just another box, and it's really just been a whirlwind of 2 years because there is such a need, right? And it's bringing something tangible back into our lives when so much is digital now. So,
Yeah, it's so true. And like, I'm just thinking about all of my like postpartum experiences because I have 3 kids and I'm like, yeah, everything is really, it's like the mom getting her needs met and then the baby, everything's about the baby, but like that step beyond and like helping somebody to feel seen and truly nourished, I think feels so outside of like what society has told us that like we need or are deserving of. And so I love that you saw like you had that story to where you saw how it really impacted one of your friends. And I love that just that moment was birthed into this business. So what's interesting is it obviously coming from like PR and communications background, I'm curious to know like how you've utilized those skills into this business to help you grow it. Are there things that you have done differently than maybe if you hadn't had that background?
oh, yeah. I mean, honestly, it's, because I've been in my career over 20 years now, and most of that has been in PR and communications, like, and because it's so versatile across any position, right? Like, no matter what you're doing or what position you're in, those skills are always necessary and useful. I've gotten the business a lot of press over the last couple years because it's just what I do. It's how I think. It's how it comes natural to me. And I have a lot of friends who are business owners as well. And I'm like, wow, Kim, like we need your help. It's like, and it's funny when it's something, when it's something just that comes naturally to you or something you've done a lot of, it seems so simple, but I take for granted that a lot of people don't have that background or knowledge or, even just writing a press release, it's like, wow. And I'm like, so I feel grateful that I have that because it's given me a good base of how to think about how I want to build the brand, how I want to tell my story, and really the steps of building the brand from the ground up because I know how important that is for telling the story and really getting traction longer term. So yes, it was an investment financially to build this thing from the beginning, but I'm so grateful I did because now it's becoming a recognized brand and it's starting to gain, a lot of traction and getting well and here we are talking on a podcast. I love podcasts. It's a great way to connect with other moms and just get this message out more and more to different audiences. So but it's also vastly different from the way that I ran my other business. Service versus, direct to consumer and partnership based. I'm doing partnerships as well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask too. Is I think that like in my experience in working both with product based and service based businesses, there are so many things that like each I think need to learn from each other. And I think you have such an edge in being able to start service based and bring that because you're probably thinking more about, the PR and the communications and the client experience and the client communications and not just how. So I think sometimes in product based businesses, people get so obsessed with the product itself
Mhm. Mhm.
that it's like you can have a really cool product, but like if you're not marketing it, if the story's not there, if it's not resonating, like you're not going to get the sales. So what are the things that you have done specifically in your marketing that you have seen really make a difference in being able to continue to grow?
Yeah, I think for me, because I didn't have the product background and because this is so personal for me, my last business was really just an extension of my career before that. Versus now, it's like coming from my heart and soul. I literally like, manifested this business. I woke up one night and it literally came through me. Like, this is the extent of, and this is what I say when women, we birth children, we also birth a new version of ourselves. And I've seen that so many times, not just within myself. I would say because of that, though, it's why the storytelling and building the brand and building the authenticity into the fabric of the brand was so important to me because I want this, no matter how big it gets, I want it to feel like it's coming from the heart space, and that it's
Yeah.
like a hug in a box or every conversation, any interaction with the brand or with me or anyone who's working with me, like I want that feeling of heart-centered authenticity to always come through.
Mhm.
And that has been, again, it's natural for me because it's who I am. I'm a communicator and it's coming from I started this from my experience, but also it's allowed me, like I've stayed so true to that every conversation I have, I've allowed myself to open my heart and say things that I may not have said before, because coming from corporate or coming from more, sort
Yeah.
of traditional work settings, maybe I filtered a part of myself that didn't feel necessary or important to share. But this has allowed me to really open up to who I am as a woman, as a leader, as a mom, as like all the roles I play, right? And that has power, and so I've seen that now. The more I step into that and the more I step into my like true authenticity and how I speak in every conversation, I see the difference now, like in people I'm meeting at networking events, people I'm, having partnership conversations with. There's like this light bulb and like this deep understanding of what I'm doing. So it means to me that what I've been committed to and speaking from my heart is actually working, like people are
Mhm.
actually hearing me and tuning into like the depths of what I'm building.
Yeah. Honestly, I wish that a lot of women were brave enough to fully understand that, because I think like what you're talking about, and like, because I believe that vulnerability is a leadership trait. I think
Mm,
it's really important to show vulnerability creates connection. And
yeah.
so I love that you have made that such a priority, and that you've been able to see like, okay, I can let these walls down. I don't have to have this like boxed corporate appearance, like all these things that we tell ourselves. And I myself have been through that, to where it's like, you're a professional. What does professional look like? Like I often joke that like in my transition into working, with women who are very established and, making multi-millions, that I like had this idea in my head. I was like, oh, I need to look this way. So then I was like, I was covering my tattoos and I was like wearing blazers. And it's like these stories that we tell ourselves about how we need to present.
Yeah.
And what I have found, and it sounds like that you found this too, is like what works best is when we are fully ourselves. And so I love that you're leading with that, and you're seeing the fruits of that labor. And something that you mentioned that I think is such a fear point that a lot of my clients and a lot of my audience I know really resonate with is like, we're so afraid of fully being ourselves, and so afraid of like how we will be perceived. And so I think that giving them permission and saying like, you actually, this can drive your success versus take from it, because I think sometimes we tell ourselves the opposite.
That is so powerful, and I feel like there's part of this journey that is still well, it's always unfolding, right? Like, we're always on our journey of self-discovery and growth and wherever our life takes us. I
Mhm.
do feel like part of my journey moving forward in growing this business is also being able to help women tap into that. There's something like that birthing or rebirthing that happens within us as moms. I do feel like we have an ability to tap in at a different level once we go through matrescence and we become this new version of ourselves. That's literally what I've been walking through the last 7 years, and I feel like a completely different person. It's crazy. And I know there's a lot of women who I talk with and who are walking through that right now too, but being able to really celebrate that shift and step into that power versus like folding under the immense pressure, because clearly we have that. There's no way around it. Like, that's also the world we live in. And what if we all leaned more into our power and our abilities and our strengths and our real inner power? Like, I feel like that helps to balance the scales, right? Like, we start lifting up, and yes, we still have pressures, but the more we speak authentically and say, this is who I am and this is what I'm choosing in my life, like my autonomy as a human and on this planet and as a mom and as a woman, like, that is power. Like, that's something I want to be a part of, you know?
I love that. And I think that a lot of times, like that pressure that we feel, when I start to peel back the layers with clients, I find that like 90% of the time it's actually self-imposed
Oh, yeah.
pressure. It's the things that we think we need to be doing, or the things that we think we need to be upholding, or the things that we're afraid to give away, or the things we're afraid to say. And it's like we are the problem the majority of the time. And something else that you touched on that I don't want to forget to mention is like, you had mentioned that it was really important to keep everything like from your heart and make it feel like this personalized, like I see you experience when they receive these boxes. And something that I know to be true is that most women have a really deep fear, especially in a service-based business. Like it's like it has to be me, it has to be me, it has to be me, it has to be me. So I'm curious to know from you, how do you keep that? I'm like big in like the human touch personalization, even in
Mm.
my work, right? So how, like, what does that actually look like for you in the business? Like as you're growing, how are you keeping that like almost like that, like this is just sent from your neighbor or from your friend
Mm.
feeling?
That's such a good question, and it's gonna be a question I keep asking myself as it continues to scale, right? Because it becomes
Yeah.
harder and harder to keep that intimacy the bigger it gets. My child is yelling at me from the other side of the door, and I'm patiently waiting for my mother-in-law to, grab her.
I've been in the same position, or I just have like one of them looking at me through the glass right here.
Yeah,
Like,
she's literally banging on the door. I'm gonna remain calm and just yeah. So the brand has been built from even my designer is a mom, and If you
If you
can
want
give
to,
me
if you
just
want to
a
pause for a second, we can pause.
Mhm. I'm ready for age 4. Oh my God. Like,
Is your
it got
youngest
easier at
3?
4 with my older daughter, so I don't know. She's amazing and it's intense. So
Yeah, I totally get that. Mine are 10, 7, almost 8, and 4, almost 5. And
oh,
my
okay.
oldest and my youngest are both like very, very difficult.
Okay. That tracks. Yeah. My 7-year-old will be 8 in October. She's going into second grade and she's like, although she had a little bit of an issue this morning too. But anyway, we're just rolling because that's what we do, right?
It's part of it. We've had nursing babies crying on here. I feel like it's important. It's real life, right? Like this is actually what it looks like.
It's authenticity. There we
You
go. You
you
know,
you show up and it's not this like pretty picture. It's like we're having a conversation and handling tantrums. It's just
yes.
to do.
And remaining calm as much as possible.
As much
Because,
as
that's the regulation, the self-regulation not only helps us, but it helps them, right? So it's not always possible and it's nice to try.
right. But it also goes in with the brand and what you're building, right? Because I think that if we're talking about regulation and us being able to stay centered and anchored when we are balancing and navigating being a mom and running businesses, it's like there's getting our needs met and then there's actually like nourishment that refills our cup. And those are two different things that from my experience in working with clients who are very drained and very overwhelmed, that it's like the nourishment is just not happening.
No, no, it's easy for that to fall off. And so we're pushing up a hill, right? And in the societal kind of pressures and norms and what we've been raised around and what our society, we're just surrounded by so much stuff. So yes,
Mhm.
going inward, I'm super reflective, self-reflective. Like I've done a lot of work and continue to do that work to understand who I am at the core, and so the more I do that, the more I'm able to draw out that confidence in showing that to the world. And like I said earlier, the more I step into that, the more I share it like in an authentic way. I've been kind of shocked, honestly, at the responses I get from people. And then the more I get those on repeat from totally different people in totally different scenarios, I'm like, oh, then you start to believe it, right? You're like, okay, you get that reflected back and you're like, all right, I'm in alignment. I'm there. So anyway, back to your question about keeping the authenticity of the brand. When I started building the brand with my designer, who's also a mom, we started building the box design and the overall brand design with this like warmth, and it feels like hand drawn icons because they are. And so every box feels like it's designed for you, even though, I mean, obviously there's different versions of them, but there's different versions with different icon combinations and different designs. And what I love about that part is that, and I've gotten a lot of feedback on it, is that it feels unique. It feels different. It feels like there's a warmth to it because it's not just another generic box that happens to have a logo on it, right? Like there's something
Yeah.
really special about it. So that's one way that we can continue pulling that through because I can scale up the production of the boxes and maintain that same brand feel. And then, there's other ways that I have been exploring like tools, like AI tools and some technology integration for scaling in a way that allows the community to help drive the brand. More on that to come soon, but that can help continue generating that feeling of authenticity and connection and human connection without draining me, because ultimately this is not about draining me as a human, as a mom. This is about me putting this energy of love and care back into the world and caring for caregivers ultimately, which is what my bigger vision is and what I've been stepping into more fully. That I'm here to usher it through, but I'm not here to like drain myself and bury myself in the process. So I do feel like that there's this really neat kind of convergence of that human connection and the technology and AI that has gotten so much more sophisticated. So really finding the ways to leverage that in a smart way is where I'm heading.
Yeah, I love that. Can you tell me more about like in building this, what are you doing to protect
Mm.
your time and yourself and your boundaries?
Oh, yes, that is an ongoing journey. So, a lot of what I learned early on was that to be gentle with myself and that, not thinking that somehow I'm going to find some sort of magic balance, that I am choosing because this is important to me. I am choosing to pursue this business because it matters to me and my healing and to my world, but it also matters to my community and other women and basically all other all other caregivers in the world. I mean it has become this massive, like, it's a reflection of so much that's going on across the world. And so I go back and forth between, like, this is huge, this is so big, this can be so big. And I go into overwhelm and kind of freeze mode, right?
Yeah.
I'm also highly sensitive and I'm an empath. I'm all the things. And so a lot of my journey has been in understanding where my energy has to, like, where it stops and where other people's energy, even the macro stuff that's going on all the time, that a long time ago, I didn't recognize the difference. Like, I would feel stuff and I didn't know where it was coming from. I didn't know if it was within me, it was from someone in my immediate surroundings. And now I'm understanding that I'm taking inputs in from all over. And so a lot of my buffer that I've created for myself had to start there, of like learning where I stop and where the energy needs to where I need to push away energy that's not mine, I guess. And,
Mm,
like, recognizing that was a huge first step. And then it's like, okay, recognizing I'm choosing this life with young kids, starting a business from nothing, investing in it, putting pressure on my personal finances and my relationship, my marriage, there's, like, so many implications when you make these choices, right? So a lot of this last year has been in that scale up, like, or just, moving from startup to, or like scrappy founder, to this is an actual business. And it's like, so that has been honestly really hard to find that space. But now this year, I'm like, getting to the pool to swim. I am making time to get to the gym. I'm learning when to say, no, I don't have the energy for that right now, and not feeling bad that I'm not participating,
mm,
or just allowing myself to do what I need and get what I need and not have to feel like I need to apologize for it. If I'm not spending all the time that I want with my children all the time, it's okay. This is a season of growth. Like, it's going to be okay, or so I think there's that, again, being gentle with myself and trying to just, like, release some of that, like you said earlier, some of that internal self-imposed pressure. It's an ongoing practice. Like, I haven't, like, mastered this, but I think those are the steps I've been taking. It's like understanding myself more, understanding what my boundaries need to be and where I end and where others have been kind of like getting into my space too much. And
mhm.
then knowing when to ask for space or just to step away and trust that the people that are in my world and who I trust to be with my girls can be with my girls, and it's okay. So I think we've had a lot of pressure about either you're more with your children and you're at home, or you're either fully at work and you're not with your children. And I reject that, like, polarization, and for me, I'm just figuring out what that means for me. But my hope is that in having these conversations like with you and building more community through Caring for Mama, and with so many other groups like Moms First and Chamber of Mothers, there's so much amazing energy around this topic where it's like, no, we get to choose, full stop, you know?
So you said so many great things there. And it's like at the end of the day, I think it is really just recognition of like we do have a choice.
Mm,
And I think that's what sometimes people forget. And that's what, in a lot of my conversations with my clients, it is like this morning, even in a conversation with a client, she was like thanking me because we had a call this week and talked through a lot of things. And she was like, I said no to this. And I left earlier here and I actually delegated this thing. And it was just like, sometimes we just need that permission because I think that as mothers and nurturers, we naturally assume responsibility. So we just assume this responsibility. So we start this business, we have kids, and it's just like, this is us leading all of it. And then when you combine that with somebody who has like a very big purpose or a very big mission and values a lot of like the world impact, it can be a lot of pressure, and it can very much stretch us thin. And so I think, like you said, just really knowing like for me, it's really helping my clients identify what are the goals and what is the vision and where are we going, and are the choices that we're making more short-sighted, or are they in alignment with that? Because I think sometimes we get caught up in the short-sighted things to where it's like, yeah, I'll go to that dinner and that networking bit, and it's like opportunities, opportunities, opportunities. I'm going to get all these opportunities, and it's like, yeah, but if you're like dead inside,
Mm.
it's not going to transfer well. And that's the hardest thing to get people to understand is like, you can be at all the things, but if you're halfway there in all the things. And so I would rather people commit to less and be
Mhm.
there fully. And so that like elusive balance is never 50-50. It's really just like, okay, I'm choosing to work, 8 hours today and see my kids for only two, but I'm going to fully be there in whichever. And sometimes that flips, and that's the permission. So I love that you just brought up the awareness piece and the saying no, and looking at like, what are my commitments? Is this alignment with where I'm
Yeah.
going? And is this actually a season, or is this a behavioral pattern that I'm
Mm,
afraid to look at? Because I see that a lot too.
that's true. Well, and regarding the being more selective in where we put our energy and events and just commitments in general. One of my favorite things to do right now is I go through my calendar and I like ruthlessly like delete. I'm like,
Yeah.
what I've been paring down. And it's so unlike me. I mean, before kids, and being in PR, I'd be like triple booked every night. Yeah, I mean, I was like all over the place. And I love networking. I love people. Fortunately for what I'm building, that's really a good thing.
Mhm.
And I realize now how much less energy I have and how much less I have to give to other people. And so I want to be really selective in what I give away because I want to have first I need something for me, right? And then I need for my, I need the energy for my family, and then I need energy for what I'm building. And if I'm, throwing it all over the place, I'm kind of sacrificing those priorities. So that has been a huge win for me because then I find if I'm feeling confused, even if I don't or if I feel kind of like conflicted about something on my calendar, if I'm questioning it, that in of itself is like, cool, like I'm already questioning it, delete, or like or just
Yeah.
reschedule or whatever. But I used to feel like I needed to get everything done right away. And it's been so freeing for me when I look at my calendar and I have one other thing today and then I have an event tonight. I'm like, wow, that's such like then I get that like what do I get to do at that time? Oh, okay, I'm going to work. But what if I want to go do something else? Like it opens up possibilities. And I feel like that's the space where we can actually be more creative and be more, just do what we actually want to do in this world coming from a place of like being filled up instead of drained all the time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's really hard to move into that me first mentality, because I know like I grew up that like if I ever put myself first, like it was like you're selfish. It was like, so it was always framed and positioned as like this is a bad thing. And like I've had to flip that script and see exactly what you're saying, to where it's like literally everybody around me that I engage with is better when I'm
Mhm.
full, when I'm putting myself first. And so I think just like reiterating that to the audience of like, if you're not, like, this is your permission to do that, because not only does it benefit, it's not just for you. Because we get this idea in our head of like, okay, I'm going to take care of everybody else and all these other tasks and this business stuff and the team and all that. And then I'll like get the leftovers, and then it's like, yeah, but that's not actually in alignment with your values, which is where we feel a lot of guilt sometimes, especially as mothers. And like I always say, like, guilt is there to prompt us to start inquiring deeper into, are we aligned, are we following through with our own commitments to ourselves, are we following through with our commitments to our values, are we living in alignment with our values? Because a
Mm.
lot of times in business we're not, because it's very easy for codependency to take over, for the reality of the financial pressure. If you're the provider for your family, if you're like, this is how I feed my children, of course your brain, because it's supposed to keep us safe, is going to be like, just work so that you
Yeah.
can feed your children.
Whatever it takes. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. So I love that you're deleting stuff on your calendar. A couple more questions before we wrap up here. First, I want to know, what does a box look like? What's typically
Mhm.
in there? And then who are they for?
Yes. So the boxes, if you or when you go to Caring for Mama, it's mama.co. The boxes there that I sell direct to consumer, those are really for any mom of any age and stage, I say. So, a lot of boxes that we see are typically in the perinatal period or postpartum, which is amazing because we need a lot. I do have a pregnancy and postpartum box, but the rest are really just for any mom for any reason, any season. Like this is ideally it's on a random, Tuesday morning that you get a box. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not because it's a time to gift. And then within each box, there are different curations that I've come to over the last couple years. It's been really fun. I've connected with over 100 women-owned businesses, sourced from about 50 now, and they're just all amazing women. Like if I had all the time in the world, the PR person in me would tell all their stories and like it would be a
Oh,
whole thing, but
I love
we'll get
that.
there.
Yeah.
But every product in the box is like handmade by women. And
Mm.
I don't know, it just feels like I always say to people, it's like a home cooked meal. You feel the difference when it's something handcrafted and like every woman has put their love into the formulation or to the, you know, there's an oracle deck in the postpartum box, which I'm
I
obsessed with.
love that.
I know. There's an illustrative journal in my me time box that's made by a local artist.
Wow.
And there's candles and there's body care, of course. But and then there's also things to consume, whether it's tea, electrolytes, bone broth, energy snacks, and things like that. So every box is intended to serve different types of well-being or sensory stuff because depending on who you are and when you're getting this, I mean, you might
Sure.
not want an energy snack. You want to throw the candle by your bath and or not. Maybe you want to, try out an oracle deck. I'm trying to meet women where they're at, and it's worked well so far. So far so good. And then the other thing that's been exciting is that because I'm also in the sandwich generation, I've got an 81-year-old mother at the same time of having a 3-year-old. So, I've been balancing another dynamic, which is caregiving. So I've been stepping into the senior services space and more caring for caregivers broadly because a lot of family caregivers are also moms. Not always, but a lot of us are also
Yeah.
moms, young children. So there's been a really exciting expansion into that space because it's such a natural extension of what I've built, which is if you're a person, if you're a human caring for another human, however old they are, whatever they're navigating, by the nature of it, you're putting yourself on the back burner. And so it's
Mhm.
really like, how do I help people, communities, organizations, like be more intentionally caring for the caregivers? Because it's not how our society is built. Like we don't see the value that we bring as caregivers. So that's really the bigger mission and what gets me up every morning, like excited to do this thing. So
Yeah, it's so incredible. I love just how much intention, like you can feel how much like your heart is in it and how much intention goes into like each part of this that
yes.
you've developed. And I'm sure the receiver of all of these feels that too.
Yeah.
So if there's anything, knowing who our audience is, and
Mm.
obviously you have a bunch of moms listening to you,
Yeah.
if you could leave them with something today that maybe a past version of you needed to hear or you think they need to hear, what would that be?
Oof. I mean, there's a lot, but what comes to mind is like what I say in the boxes, you're doing a great job. Like I see you. I don't know who you are or who is watching right now, but I see you. I'll talk to you, Kelsey. I see you. I value you. You're amazing just as you are. And do whatever you can to remember that every single day. When you wake up, when you go to sleep at night, any chance you get. And I say with the boxes, like these even little things that you have that are for you that you love, a little treat, whatever that is for you. Like taking little micro moments, I say. Like it could be like an extra minute when you're getting ready, like whatever that is. But just like giving yourself love in some way. Sometimes it's the deep breaths. Sometimes it's like literally giving yourself a hug. Sometimes it's doing, I love the lymph drainage stuff. Like whatever feels good to you. It's like pouring love back into yourself and just trying to tell yourself that exactly how you are right now, you're amazing. Because if we're always striving for something else or someone else or, it's exhausting and we run ourselves ragged. So I think if we can just really like love ourselves more, it sounds so cliche, but you know what I'm saying? It's like I see you and I value you and take care of you.
Mm. I mean, I think simplicity is beautiful. Honestly,
Yeah,
it doesn't, we overcomplicate everything in our
that's
lives.
true.
At the end of the day, like we really do just need that reflection of like, we're cheering everybody on and doing everything for everybody. Like, can we turn those words around for us? So I love that.
Exactly.
Love that.
Yeah, like you say, like if I just seeing my daughter this morning when she was overstimulated and I was like, giving her a hug and just like reminding her that she's okay, she was safe. It's like, huh, what if I, gave myself that hug this morning and I turned that energy back toward myself? Like, how amazing would that feel? So yeah,
Yeah.
I like that practice of like just like that self check. I think we can all do it if we give ourselves a moment to just think for ourselves. So.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on and being here and sharing your story and talking about the boxes. And honestly, like I am so appreciative for what you're doing in the world because I could just, again, can feel like how much heart that you're putting into everything that you do. So I am sure that you will only continue to succeed and thrive and impact people in so many different ways. And I love that you're expanding into the senior citizen side of things and caregivers, that because it's so true, there's just women everywhere just pouring themselves out. So what an amazing business that you have built, and I hope that you feel so proud of like doing this thing, because how scary to step into something so different, and so but you trusted your heart, and I love that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I am becoming much more I am practicing. This is actually growing this business has been one of the best things for me personally.
Mm,
We build what we didn't have or what we wanted or a lot of, we
yeah.
do a lot of that as we're starting businesses, especially women. I remind myself a lot like, okay, how am I caring for myself? If I'm building a business called Caring for Mama and I'm not okay, like I don't know. It's a good self-check, right? So, and people ask me
Yeah.
a lot, "So how do you care for yourself?" And so it's been really healing for me at the same time that I'm able to help heal others. It's just
Mhm.
I literally can't think of anything better to do in the world. So I know I'm on my path for life and I'm excited to see where it all goes and being a part of these communities and meeting you. I mean, it's all part of the story, and you just never know where connections are going to lead and where energies will I don't know, whoever's listening, there's probably going to be some major massive connection or something and
Of
that's
course.
how this
Yes.
stuff happens. So I'm excited.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for being here today. I definitely, I'm going to email you because I want to talk about something that I was thinking about that we could do together
Love it.
for my clients. So I want to email you and talk to you about that. But thank you again for bearing with me with all the technical
Oh,
issues. To all our listeners, thank you so much for listening today. So Kim, if they want to connect with you, if they want to order your boxes, if they want to find out more, where do people go?
yeah, it's caring for mama, mama.co. And same thing on Instagram as well. But the boxes are all on my website, the ones that I have ready to, I ship them all across the US. And then if you want to reach out to me directly, I'm always meeting new product makers. I love all things collaboration and partnerships. I'm partnering in lots of different ways. So my email is kim@caringformama.co. I'd be happy to hear from anybody who has thoughts, questions, ideas, whatever. I'm very open.
Awesome. Okay, we will put everything in the show notes for you guys. Kim, thank you so much again for bearing with me through all the things. And I'm glad we got through tech issues and tantrums and we just made it happen,
You
sister.
know what? It's a perfect example of what we do, how we do what we do. So it's all good.
Exactly, exactly. And how we both are just like, well, this is what it is. So we'll just make the best of it here. But I'm so excited for my audience to hear this episode. So thank you again. And I'm going to reach out to you because I do want to chat with you further. Thank you so much for being here and we'll talk soon.
All right, sounds good. Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you.